Welcome to episode number 104 of Warehouse and Operations as a Career, the podcast where we talk about the many different career opportunities within operations. This week we hit our 2-year mark, our second anniversary, if you will. If you're a long-time listener, you'll know that we enjoy talking about our experiences and don't mind sharing them along with our thoughts and, probably a few too many opinions about the positions, equipment, and opportunities within this great industry. Our goal is to help everyone that's interested in getting and keeping a light industrial job and advancing within their company with the tools, keywords, and planning that we implemented and used during our careers. Through reaching out to knowledgeable experts and those performing the task on a daily basis and really researching your questions and thoughts, I hope we help each one of our listeners in one way or another. We started this podcast as a way to introduce young job seekers to the fields of warehousing and transportation, a field that can really pay very well, and a field that you can take care of your families with and retire from. I'd like to sincerely thank each of you for checking in with us each week. I would have never dreamed a weekly discussion on operations would reach so many different countries, states, cities, and individuals. And I'd like to take my hat off to each of our guests over the last 2 years, each one having volunteered time to share their experiences with us and that really believes in our industry as much as I do. And be sure to keep those questions, comments, and suggestions coming in. We love putting the show together each week. I think I learned something new from every guest and show myself. Keep thirsting for knowledge and we'll keep tracking down some answers. Well, next week starts year 3 and I'm super excited. We're already planning and putting some shows together on 3PLs, logistics, and the supply chain, and of course a lot more on safety. We'll be speaking with a couple of equipment manufacturers also, learning where they believe the industry is heading and what our equipment is going to be like in the future. I reckon that's enough on what's ahead. I'll get back to the present, so thanks for being here, and as they say, on with the show. Let's talk a little about transportation. We've had a couple of questions about route driving and local delivery drivers, quite possibly the most strenuous and stressful position that I know of. If you Google the words route driver, Google pulls up 210 million results in 51 seconds. You gotta love the internet, don't we? So what is a route driver? Careers.stateuniversity.com says, route delivery drivers are truck drivers who sell and deliver goods along with local routes. They may sell retail goods and services or wholesale products. Their specific duties vary according to their industries, the policies of their employers, and their role in sales. I'll include their URL in today's show notes along with several different articles that I actually looked up. Their site is pretty informative. Check it out if you have a few minutes. I think the transportation world is a great career choice, and there's so much room for growth and advancement. We've talked about all the supply chain and logistics offerings on a couple of different episodes. All around, it's just honestly a great field. Employers typically are going to seek out individuals of at least 25 years old and a high school graduate, but I know many drivers that possess various degrees too. You'd be surprised how many independent operators have taken their business degrees on the road and are doing very well for themselves. Personally, I believe one of the easiest ways to become a driver is for us to get into a good company, one that our research has showed us will offer a long-term career and eventually our retirement. Starting in the warehouse, really in any capacity, will give us the product knowledge and the inner workings of our company. Remember, knowledge is money and stability. Most large organizations will have a driver program of some sorts, something where they'll help us get our permit and maybe some actual driving time too. Another great avenue to being a driver is taking a driver helper position. We'll get as much product knowledge and get to be out on the road with the driver. And here's one of the greatest points. Driving can pay really well. I won't go into all the salaries here, but check out today's links. I'll add them to the website. Now, our pay rates can vary wildly. I mean, from really A to Z, but then so does the job descriptions and responsibilities of being a driver. Everything from hotshot or courier work in a small van to being a route driver with sales responsibilities like with beer and soda companies or grocery store deliveries. Then you have delivery drivers delivering to 15 or 20 customers a day and maybe 1,200 cases that may consist of 1,100 different items. Over the road is probably or can be the most rewarding, but man, or in my opinion, that can be the roughest job there is. For me, it's hard to think about being away from home so much. And then I guess we ought to talk about the driving schools available to us real quick. I think these are good alternatives if you have the $3,000 to $6,000 or even more to pay for them. And then there's the contract schools or departments for over-the-road carriers that will teach us, but we'll probably have to sign up for a couple of years. Maybe even a few years and commit to many, many miles with them before we can move on to something else. I want to add real quick that even once we have our license in hand, we're probably not going to be able to just go out and get that really good local delivery job because they're going to be looking for some experience and miles under our belts. There's a lot of city miles, in traffic, and several time windows that we'll be expected to meet, so experience is going to be a must. I've seen the pros have to back down an alley around 6 different vehicles and jackknife the trailers so they could get to those delivery doors. And there's an art to driving, believe me. Anyway, that's another reason I think getting in with a company first and then transitioning into driving with them is really our best bet. We know them and they know us. What better training could we get and be paid to earn more money, right? I think it's important we remember our work environments too. We'll be out in the heat in the summer and the cold during the winter. And of course, just because it's raining, snowing, or hailing, we'll still be at work and that freight's got to be delivered. Yep, the work's hard to some. Some find it invigorating, but I've never seen what I'd call an easy driving job. I always loved the customer service aspect of it too, seeing different people every day and that feeling of being the president of the company when on the road. I mean, we're responsible for the equipment and our entire loads, and we'll be the sole decision maker all day long. Transportation is a great career choice. I think we just need to study what we're getting into and really understand our choices. I guess that's any job or career choice though, isn't it? I know we're talking about transportation today, but I ran across this article on forklifts I found really interesting and I wanted to share it with y'all today. Of course, a driver has occasion to utilize a lift sometimes, either loading or unloading our freight, so maybe it's a good thing to review it here today. So I found this at www.aftt.co.uk from a friend of ours on Twitter. You can look him up using the little @ CLIVEFLUCKER on Twitter, one of our WAOC followers. We follow them as well. Check them out. They have some really good articles sometimes. Anyway, so the article from AFTT is titled, "So You Thought Mining Was Dangerous." I believe these stats were pulled from the UK, but I'd assume we could apply them to our industry no matter where we're really located. They state as much as 70% of all accidents could have been prevented by standard safety measures. It states 60% of their units are electric powered and 40% are fueled. I'll try to look that up, but I'd assume that'd be true for us here on this side of the pond too. A couple of facts I already knew were that forklifts showed up in the 1920s and standardized pallets came to be in the 1930s. Here's a few of the forklift accident stats. It stated falling from the forks were 4% of the accidents. Struck by falling vehicle, and I think they probably meant falling freight there, was 8%. Being run over was 11%. Crushed between two vehicles was 11%. And crushed between a vehicle and a surface was 25%. And 42% of the accidents listed here were from tipping over. I thought they did a really good job here, and they listed some forklift safety tips too. It'd be a good idea to add all these to our list. To keep a forklift from tipping over, they mention ensure the load is balanced. Use extra caution when making sharp turns. I'd add to slow down when turning as well. Take extra care when working on ramps on uneven or sloping surfaces. Dock plates always make me think twice. And of course, as we all should know, drive with the load in its lowest position. I like the old saying, slow and low. I forget where I first heard that, but it's remained with me all this time. They list a few thoughts for if the forklift begins to tip over also. Number 1, stay in the seat. Do not attempt to jump clear. Hold on tightly to the steering wheel and brace yourself against the seat. And then they remind us to keep our bodies inside the frame of the machine and lean in the opposite direction of the overturn. These are all great points and reminders. As drivers, with us not operating one every day, it's probably a good idea to review our safety practices before we climb on a lift each time. I know with myself, since I no longer am operating one every day, I take a moment to kind of clear my head, kind of gather my thoughts and bring the old operator forward before I climb on one now. I mentioned Twitter a little earlier. WAOC has forwarded over 2,500 job postings, actually almost 2,700 tweets in the last 730 days. We'd appreciate a follow if you have a moment. You can find us on Twitter and Facebook both using that little @ sign, WHSEANDOPS. And of course, we keep the website updated each week at warehouseandoperationsAsAcareer.com. And you can always reach us by email, host@warehouseandoperationsAsAcareer.com, with any suggestions, topics, or comments. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up 2 years of WAOC, and I'm looking forward to year 3 now. I thank you for listening and participating with our group, and I'm looking forward to next week. Until then, please work safe, and remember, we have others counting on us at home. Let's return as we left.